the dead is a miracle, doc. They counted me out. Moment of truth, counting it down. Underdog story was down for the count. Back on my feet, back with a mic, back on the beat, back with a family that bang in the streets. The game on lock, I stand with a key. Standing my ground, I am counting the fleet. Standing my ground, I am counting my feet. Taking a stand, embracing my destiny, shaking his hand, flipping the script.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Sunday night CrossFit Talk. I'm Scott. She's Jamie. And in the green room, ready to pop in any second now, is Carolyne. There she is. And she's gone.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Like, is it clear or no?
Yeah, it's good.
Crystal
Okay,
clear.
perfect. Great.
So we're here live Sunday night. I must do my weekly woe is me because I'm a Bears fan report. As since Mike Ditka was fired in 1992, the Bears are 15-51 against their arch rival Green Bay Packers. Today, we had them on the ropes. All we had to do is kick a field goal at the end of the game to win, and it got blocked. It got blocked because the Bears were just bearing. That is what they do now. They get my heart all ready for enjoy. I had Ashley Cotler's text ready to go to rub it in her face, and then thud. Because if people don't know, Ashley Cotler, Justin's wife, is a big Green Bay Packers fan. For the last 3 years, just randomly, I get a text of how woeful the Bears are against the Packers. Like how many quarterbacks we've gone through when they've gone through 3. Like how many coaches, how many, all these stats. And I'll just wake up one morning and they're waiting for me. And I was ready for the retaliation and nothing. Nothing.
What a bummer.
And then the 49ers, Carolyne, lost the same way-ish.
I missed the game, but yes, I see the score.
Geno Smith, last second touchdown to win the game.
Geno.
And the Seahawks beat the 49ers. But then we're not all like Jamie and Lana, who have a team that scores every time they touch the ball.
Oh, it was a good game.
Some points against the woeful Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
I mean, I should technically be a Bills fan with how close I am to Buffalo, but I mean,
Now, that was a game.
That was a good game.
Yeah, that's what I just finished watching.
Right, me too.
Yeah, that was an amazing game.
I mean, if the Niners aren't gonna play well this year, maybe Lex could mute or not hear this, but maybe I'll just go for the Bills this year.
There you go. Josh Allen on 4th and 2, running it all the way into the end zone was I actually jumped out of my chair. It was so cool. Because I don't like undefeated teams and total domination. I like when it's mixed up a little bit. So, yeah, that was pretty good. Well, how have your week's been?
I had a good week. We ended up going to Mount Pleasant to Soaring Eagle Casino yesterday for my niece's 18th birthday. So took her in there and did some gambling.
I had her behind.
She ended up 500 or 600 up.
Wow.
Yeah. I lost $70. I think Aaron lost 100, but it's all right.
Do you have a cap when you play? What's
Yeah, I took 70. That's what I was willing to play with.
Okay.
And I had 70 for Aaron. I think Aaron had some of his own money.
I
was actually up. I was up 60 at one point. I just do slots. We did a little bit of roulette. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I go in with 20, 25. That's usually my cap, but because I'm a cheapskate.
Yeah, I am too. I don't love to bet money, but it was fun. It was a good night.
Kenneth DeLapp says, ripping some cigs and gambling, all the new 18-year-old privileges.
That's what we said. So when we called her for her birthday was actually Tuesday. And when we called her, Aaron was like, did you go buy some cigarettes? And she's like, you got to be 21 now, which I didn't even realize. Apparently, I have to be 21 to buy cigarettes.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that she would do it but we're just messing with her.
Carolyne, you got back from Scotland when?
I got back Monday at like 9 p.m. and I went like right to bed to get used to this time zone here. I've been going to bed pretty early, like every day of the week around 8:39. But I felt like I went right back on track. Like I was at school Tuesday morning and it felt like a regular work day. I wasn't like overly tired from the travel.
Good.
How was it going? Because I'm good west, but going east, I'm crushed every time.
I was good the first day. It was almost the second day. I was a little bit. It's like the first day you're almost like surviving, and for me it catches up on the second day. I wanted to nap and just kind of get out of routine where I shouldn't. But it was okay. It wasn't too bad. I think for me it was only 5 hours. For Lex it was 8, so it'd be more for her. But she was able to get right on schedule right away, essentially. So it was good.
Yeah. Well, I had a doctor's appointment on Friday, and I announced a couple of weeks ago that I've weaned myself off of insulin. When I had AFib, my sugar was up to like 10.6, my A1C. And a couple months ago, 3 months ago, it was 6.0 with the insulin, but I've weaned myself off. So they measured again, and now I'm at 5.7 without insulin.
Wow.
So the doctor is like ecstatic that it just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. And so I'm super stoked. That's been my big news of the weekend. Even a Bears loss can't take away that joy.
What have you changed like the most? Like, is it like your diet? Are you getting back in the gym a little bit more? Like what's making it go down?
So I'm taking a different approach at the gym. Like if I feel good, I do a Metcon. If I don't feel good, I do like bodybuilding or a lifting sesh just to kind of like mentally be okay. And that's, I think, the bigger piece is the stress. Like I've just had to de-stress a lot of things in my life and get rid of a lot of the things that were stressing me out, and go back to therapy, go back to talking about all the things, and working through that. And I think that has been the biggest thing. And that has helped me with an approach. And with that, like, and I am taking a little bit different approach with my eating. And I kind of went back to an old method when I first was diagnosed as a diabetic. I got off of everything, just eating when I'm hungry and making sure that whatever I'm eating is good for my body and not bad for my body.
Do you like focus on protein? Like
proteins, fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
Really, because of the diabetic piece, I am reducing carbs down a bit because I need to get the sugars out of my blood system. But when I do that, then everything in my body starts working correctly again. So then like the weight loss is faster and all that other stuff starts happening. So I had to like just reset everything for myself, get healthy again so that everything else works. And then I can maybe attacking the gym differently. But I really am enjoying the way I'm doing it now. Like if my body feels good, I do it like a good hard Metcon. If it doesn't, I do bodybuilding, and that way I'm still moving, but it's something that I enjoy when I'm not feeling great. So that's kind of been my approach.
Are you going to the gym, or have you been more at the garage?
So it's been more at the garage, but I have gone back to the gym a little bit more.
Cool.
Because Julie's been working from home more because she's getting closer to her surgery. Her knee pain is getting greater. So the car is at the house more, but yeah.
Cool.
But then there's going to be her going through the surgery and me doing all that stuff, which is going to, yeah. So I've got 2 propane heaters now for the garage. As we go into winter. So
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but everything's going well that way. One more thing I want to talk about before we get into CrossFit though is EA Sports announced that their NHL 25 game is going to include the women's league players as a selection, or their teams as a selection to play with on the game. And I texted Carolyne immediately because she just retired, or we'd be able to play as Carolyne Prevost on this game.
It's true. It's true. It's
That
true.
would have been so cool.
No, I'm happy for all my friends and ex-teammates. That's really cool. Good addition. I saw like they did it with the basketball. It's nice to see that the hockey's following suit, and that just more representation, more cool opportunities like this for the female side of the sport. It's great.
I also noticed that ESPN shows the Pro Lacrosse League, and they are adding a female Pro Lacrosse League in 25 as well. And ESPN is going to show that as well. Women's sports is taking huge leaps in the last 18 to 24 months.
Well, we're actually like showcasing it, but versus before, like we were barely seeing it. But once they started showcasing it and you start to follow the athletes and everything, like people have become real fans of the sports, which is awesome.
I think the video game step is huge. If little girls can play as pro basketball players and pro hockey players, that's just going to incentivize them even more to jump into those sports.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome. So we'll get into the CrossFit stuff. I want to start off with tomorrow will be the final episode of All Access Behind the Scenes at the CrossFit Games Masters Edition. I'm a little sad. This week has been the hardest week of putting this together. It is the longest episode yet. And I think because I was by myself on Sunday, Ellie had to do some other things, and I didn't know how much she was getting each day. So I just was like trying to make sure I had enough footage, and I had so much. Even cutting it down, I have 55 minutes of an episode.
Wow.
So tomorrow we are starting at noon to give a full like lunch hour, noon to 1 o'clock. For that, it's already set up in the system to go tomorrow at noon. But I actually have 2 trailers for you tonight. One is a typical trailer, and then there's one story that was so cool I wanted to pull it out and kind of highlight it. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and play those for you. Here is the first one. Just typical training, just typical clip, and we'll talk about it after. Here we go.
Good. Last day, best day.
Ready to kill this last one?
I am. I'm excited for this one. It's going to be a fun one. It's the end of it. Got to go strong. Can't hold back.
Hard today because you're sore, or good because you see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Sore.
Sore.
But the light's at the end of the tunnel. 8 minutes.
Last day, you still in the hunt?
Still in the hunt.
You said this was not anticipated, but enjoying the ride?
Oh my God. It's not what I expected, but yeah, it's been fun.
We do
Thanks.
wrap-up shows every night, and I read your name off. as
Oh,
one
thank
of the
you. Thank
leaders,
you.
so,
Thank you.
have you had fun this weekend?
Oh, it's been great. It's such an amazing experience. Yeah, it's my first time, so I've been trying to get here for a long time.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to be back out with all my friends and seeing people that I've competed with like so many years ago and meeting new people, and I just think it's so inspiring. I mean, the individuals are inspiring, but to see masters athletes just doing unbelievable things, I don't want to say at our age, but that it can continue, like it doesn't like deteriorate. And
Tired.
Having fun this weekend?
Absolutely. Having a blast. Yeah.
What's been the best part of this weekend so far?
Camaraderie, seeing old friends. It's a competition. We're here to do a job. We've worked hard, worked all year for it. It's been a long season too, that's the other thing. But to get here and see familiar faces and find friendships again, it's been a blast.
problem between both. So I'm trying to use my legs to like.
So even though the body's beat up, still do that and focus on mechanics, consistency. Like try to be efficient. It will help for as much as it can at this point.
I'll do 4-4. You watch how slow it is. It's like a...
Just do 3-3.
Got a big lead and just chilling. Soaking in.
No, I want to try and win it. I'm going to try and do it unbroken. Brandon told me I could probably try to do that, so I'm going to, per his advice, try to go unbroken.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is the trailer for the final episode. The workout was bar muscle ups and single arm dumbbell thrusters. For the older age groups, they actually scaled them back to chest to bar pull ups, and they complained. And if you've been watching other episodes, they talk about that a little bit. And they actually modified it so that the last round of chest to bar got moved back up to bar muscle ups. So if you had them, you got to show them off. And it was watching the older age groups hit bar muscle ups at the end of the weekend was one of the coolest things I watched all weekend.
Yeah.
And a lot of them talk about it.
I like that version, adding in handstand walk for the last round or adding in the bar muscle for the last round. I like that better.
Just lets the people shine that have those particular skills.
Yeah. Yeah. CrossFit said that's some great video with solid royalty-free music and some C-kips. Yeah. I dive into royalty-free music so much during doing this, but this has been really good. Lynn says my chest to bar pull-ups don't even look like that. So with that, there was also another story. I've gotten to know Shanna Bunce since Legends last year, as she won Legends, and we interviewed all the winners last year. And afterwards, she was talking about a new goal she had. And so I'm just going to play this real quick. And this is just a small snippet of what you're going to see in the final episode. But I wanted to highlight her and what she's doing. So what is your goal to set the world record in pole vaulting?
Yeah, I guess since you're here and my goal next year is I'm going to try pole vaulting, and I'm going to go for the world record in my age group, which is 10 feet 3 inches.
And how many times have you pole vaulted?
Never. So this is going to be very interesting because I've never done it. I don't know if I can do it.
So
wow.
Shanna Bunce is, and I thought she was joking around when I recorded it. And she goes, and like I said, this is a very small snippet of our conversation. And then I was following her on Instagram. She is really going after it. And you'll see, I grabbed a bunch of her Instagram posts showing her progress and where she is today. So you'll have to check that out. And of course, I buried that at the end of the documentary. So you have to watch the whole thing to see it.
That is crazy. Props
That's
to her. She
cool.
needs to reach out to Danielle Brandon and get some tips.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to give too much away, but a coach actually reached out to her.
Oh, okay.
Because
awesome.
She's a taller athlete. If you've never met Shanna, she's a very tall athlete. And a coach reached out to her and said she has the perfect body type to be a pole vaulter. And that's what put this earworm into her brain. And now she's really going to go for it.
It's a very difficult sport.
Oh,
Yeah.
It requires a lot of speed, precision, flexibility. That's cool. Strength.
we'll be rooting for her.
Yeah,
It
it's
sounds
awesome.
like saying underwater basket weaving world record. And until you realize it's a real idea. Yeah. 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 That's when she was saying it, I was like, wait, I didn't have my camera on record. And I turned around and I'm like, I hit record as you said this. And she's like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And then we have a nice conversation about it. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Do you know when the
So-
championship is, or like where she does it at? Can she do it at any meet? How?
I don't think she had a meet in mind for this.
Okay.
It was just, let's go through the steps, see where I'm at, see where I get to, and can I actually pull it off? But what you'll see tomorrow is she's much further along than I thought she would be at this point.
So cool.
When did she try it?
She never said when she was going to try it. She said
Just
in
next-
the course of 2025.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, it's gonna be cool. And I'll continue to follow, and we'll keep updating on this show as she goes forward as to where she gets to on that. But yeah, you'll have to check it out for sure.
That's awesome.
So now that that's all out of the way, our very own Carolyne Prevost was over in Scotland, and she got to do a lot of things while she was there. How did the trip go overall? Did you just visiting Scotland? What was that like?
It was cool. Like we didn't get too much time to tour because we were obviously wanting to watch the CrossFit competition. Like it's not like I was gonna go to Scotland and not be at the CrossFit competition the whole day. So we had one day where we went downtown, we walked around. I mean, there's castles everywhere. We didn't get to go to the castles that were about a half hour, 45 minutes away. But we saw a bunch of other things, which was cool. The competition itself, I mean, I got to test the Duel the Wednesday when I got there. So Lex and I both got in the Wednesday, and then we were just heading to the hotel gym to do a workout, and I get a text from Katie. It's like, when have you landed and what are your plans, basically? And I was like, well, I was just about to go do a workout. She's like, can you come and test something for me? And I was like, sure. So we did a small workout at the hotel gym, and then I left Lex at the hotel and went to go test the Duel, just for like transition wise and everything. We made a small adjustment to the original workout on the power stairs, and then yeah, I mean that one was fun to do.
So then you were asked to be on the desk of the tailgate party, which was awesome. Were you surprised you got on so early? Because you were one of the first people on the desk.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, right? Like I'm there, so I don't know who had been before me or who was coming after me. I got an email saying that they had a couple slots that they were looking to put me in. And then as I arrived there the one day, I was doing the burpee challenge, and then someone didn't show up for their slot. So then I filled in another time. I think I was on the desk maybe three or four times. And then the burpee challenge, which in my opinion was good enough for your for my bet against you. It was my
I'll take that under consideration.
Okay, great. But no, the rest of the weekend, I got to sit in the box, like the suite, along with a lot of the Legends athletes that were there. Caught up with a lot of those athletes and enjoyed the competition. Met some of the sponsors. Did some shopping around. Got the newer version of the Crocs. Yeah.
So was their setup as professional as ours?
For the broadcast?
Yeah.
It was on par.
On par. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good. How did you have fun doing the tailgate show? Because it looked like, well, one, it looked like you had fun, but it also looked like you were the one that had to keep the train on the tracks.
Maybe it's because like I'm such a fan of the sport. So like as they get talking, sometimes like I'm always just like watching the race because it's just like I feel like I'm still involved in the sport and and competing and watching my competitors and stuff like that. So like I'd be like talking and joking around, but like seriously like trying to at least pay attention to what was happening. So yeah, maybe I would bring it back to the race sometimes.
And you have like a TV in front of you, like a monitor with the race.
Yeah, there was like 3 smaller TVs. I didn't have my glasses, but they were like I couldn't see like the leader sometimes, like if there was written small on the TV. But then there was a big TV right behind where, like if I was looking at Pat, then the huge TV was in the back. So when I'd be like looking at him talking, I could see way better, like actually the positions of the athletes and everything like that. Yeah, so you weren't missing the action.
Well, the smaller TVs explains a lot because many of the athletes that were on the tailgate were like, who's that in first? Who's that? Like, so it wasn't just you, it was
you had like the big screen TV that was on the right side of the desk. That's the one that you could really see everything. And then the TVs that were in front of us, like you could see the leaders. I can mostly tell like when they're showing the athlete itself, like I know what their body looks like and how they move. But it was like if you on the left side, the flags and the leaders or the scores of where they were at, it was a little bit too small from the desk to actually see the order of the rest of the field.
Okay.
So I would often glance over at Pat just to see the real the real race.
So my last question about the desk is Sunday morning, they had some Scotch whiskey on the desk that it appeared that some of the people started participating in early in the day. And the show got really loose at times, which I found amusing and enjoyable. Is that factual?
I think a little bit. They also had food. At one point when I got there was like fish and chip and a bunch of other things that was on the desk.
I guess and
meats. So then there was this plate of chocolate and I was getting hungry and I was like, "Oh, I want this chocolate right now. It's some European chocolate." I didn't know it was whiskey chocolate. So I had this whiskey chocolate and I was like, "Ugh, it was not what I was expecting to bite into." But then they also had the scotch on the table. I didn't have a drink of that one. I'm not a whiskey drinker. I'm not really a drinker anyways, but definitely not whiskey.
Yeah, I got to witness you trying the chocolate. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was not my favorite.
Yeah. So the competition overall, you got to witness that. You got to watch. What was that like? Getting to watch that live?
It was awesome. I mean, it was completely different than Texas. I think the fact that when Texas was in a baseball field, like baseball fields are so big in terms of the seating. Like there was so much seating at Round Rock that it made it seem like empty, even though they could have had as many fans as Aberdeen. Like it was just hard to tell. Like it just looked like it was, in certain sections was busy. I felt like the fans were great. They showed up to each event, including the strongman. Like it wasn't just a small group watching the strongman and then they would leave. Like it felt like every event was getting watched. Between the events, the one I forget what her name is. She has an accent. She was keeping the crowd going. Like there was some drinking competitions, there was some kiss cam, there was dance cams, there was all kinds of stuff between. I thought she did a good job of just kind of keeping the flow between the events. The actual field of play looked great. I thought the turf was a great addition to the indoor venue that you don't see that. So it still brought Lauren Smith. Yeah, that's right. That's her name. The Simba cam. That turf feeling just like brings that outdoor that they couldn't really do inside. So I really liked the addition of the turf there. It looked clean. It was pretty dark where the fans were, so like it just kept the spotlight onto the floor, which is cool. I like that. The event itself, there were some great races, like the Ricky Garrard just edging out Jeff Adler in that first event was exciting to watch. You know what, for a first event where normally like I don't care to watch a long run, when they were coming in and out and then trying to figure out which sandbag to get, I actually really liked watching that event. Probably one of my favorite ones of the weekend to watch.
I actually, from a broadcast perspective, I thought it was fun to watch too, because they had good cameras outside to get that quick loop. And it wasn't like too long of a run where and they did a good job of not just watching the leaders. They had like a camera in the middle, so you'd see some people coming out as others are going down. And I thought that was good. Too many times we only get to see the leader of a run race.
Yeah, so I thought that was good. Some of the events I was surprised in some of the, I guess, performances, I should say. Maybe I expected more of them in comparison to myself. Sometimes, like even the snatch one, there was a lot more that were stuck on the snatch than I anticipated. Because they all broke up the ring muscle ups, I think, except for one person. So like I was expecting, if you're breaking up the ring muscle up, especially as a male, I didn't expect them to be struggling on the snatches as much as they were. But they were short bars on turf, and that can play a factor as well. I tested with the short bar as well when I did mine, and it just makes it seem heavier, of course. But I didn't think that they would struggle as much. So I don't know. Like Haley Adams was one of the slowest ones to the snatch. She did like 3 or 4 sets on the ring muscle ups, and she was probably the fastest one on the snatch and got like top 5 in that workout. Like,
yeah, she did really well.
It didn't have to be as much about the snatch. I think if they broke up their rings a little tiny bit more, they could have cycled through that snatch a little bit better and then actually had a foot race on the shuttles. But they were.
Is it appropriate to be sneaky like that in developing was it meant to be sneaky? Like that really you don't want to tire yourself out on the muscle ups, because if you do, it's going to cost you on the snatches.
Yeah, if you go too hard on the ring muscle ups, your shoulders, those first couple reps are tough. Yeah, so it's just like, it's really just the pacing, and then it's finding the right pace where you can move the bar.
Yeah. We talked about it on the wrap-up show that it really became a snatch workout. If you could get through them smooth, you were going to do well.
Yeah, I mean, if you looked like Guy out there, like you're golden. Although Dallin did beat him in the second heat, but yeah, if you could move through it like at a moderate pace, but again, if you were smarter on the ring muscle ups, like I bet you that's the type of workout that if you release early and the athletes get to actually test it, it would have been a different workout with a different strategy and actually finding the pace that you can hold on the bike on the ring muscle ups to move the snatch at a good rhythm. What else? What was the third event? The Braveheart one. I like that one. I thought that was I like the double handstand push-up. That definitely makes your shoulders a lot more tired. That's a movement we hadn't seen officially in a bigger CrossFit competition as far as I know.
So I want to ask you a question about that, because again, Laura finishes towards the bottom in a strict handstand push-up workout. You have told us on this show that you're not a great swimmer, but you're not willing to invest extra time in that, because how much better are you going to get in that one event? And is it enough that it's going to make a difference in the overall weekend? Is it worth the others maybe falling back a little bit? Do you think that that's where Laura is now? Like, it's just her hole. It's always going to be her hole. but the amount of time it would take to get better at that would take away from her other things that she's somewhat dominant in?
I don't think so. I think just like structurally, maybe she's got like longer arms that just make it harder to press. Like you have to like she's competing against the top girls in the world that are so good at that movement as well. I thought she was going to be a little bit better on the flat surface. I did think like I was expecting a little bit more. But then like everyone's just so good at them that even if she gets better, it's just so hard to be competitive when you're talking about the elites of the elite. Yeah, I mean, it was good thing for her that it's paired with a back squat, which slowed down some people. Like I have long arms, so like I'm a slow handstand push-up person. Like I'm short, but I actually probably have longer arms than most people in the field, which is why I can deadlift. So like I don't know if just structurally it's just something that's hard to fix, but like any type of strict movement, it takes a lot of work to get better at any type of strict movement.
Yeah. I think the last thing I want to ask you about Rogue, and because we've talked about it a lot, you've been in the chat a little bit with us in the wrap-up shows, is, you know, there's been this stink all week about what Laura said about the European crowd being better than the US crowd. And I thought you made a great point. The baseball stadium is not conducive to like have a great loud crowd because it spreads out wide as you go down the baselines. So you're much further away from the field of play than you were in this nice small arena. And I said over and over again on the wrap-up shows, that's what CrossFit needs to look for. These smaller arenas that you can fill up and make more interesting as a viewer. Do you think that the crowd was that much different than the US?
I mean, I haven't seen many sold out crowds in the US besides the CrossFit Games, if I'm being honest. And at the CrossFit Games, you have people traveling from all over, but semifinals hasn't been as good as the European, as the Australian semifinals. But I don't think there's anything wrong with her comment. This is an athlete that is from Europe. Europe has not had any major international competition like this where they've been able to host. She's proud that they finally got here. She wants to show that like this is a place that they can come to and that the European crowd is going to show up and it's not a waste of an investment, right? So I think that like I don't think anything was necessarily directed like negatively at like the USA crowd, but it's more like we have it here going on. We've had it here going on. You guys are finally getting to see it. And they've been waiting years for this to happen. What's that?
Take her out of the equation. The broadcast repeatedly was talking about how like it was the best crowd they'd seen, and us on the broadcast can't tell.
Yeah.
Right. We have no idea. It's just frustrating because like I think back to semifinals in Pasadena, which was in an abandoned strip mall or a grocery store with pillars in the middle of the floor. You couldn't even see people. Like we've never in the US put it in a place that fits what CrossFit is. We're throwing it in the square peg in the round hole for a venue. The only thing close to it would be Knoxville, which is just a weird place to get to.
I mean, I thought the crowd was great, and I like that they stuck around, and they weren't just there for the CrossFit; they were there for the strongman, they were there for the strong woman. Yeah, it was a great place, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it go back there again another year. The only thing is, like, if you stay at the same location, people that like really made that trip are like, oh, I made the trip, I've seen it, I don't need to go back again, which is why it's almost like nice for it to go to other cities. Although the location was great because like there was 2 hotels that were within 10 seconds walking of there. So it made it easy to just go back and forth. I think they want to keep it at an English speaking country for like in terms of just facilitating for the North American athletes. So I think something like Scotland or in the UK is what you'll see probably maybe in the next couple years. The actual venue was beautiful. It did everything they needed to do. But yeah, I was just happy that Europe finally got a chance to host an event because they've been needing that. I would love to see it go to Australia at some point. Obviously, that's a huge huge flight for many of the people, but I mean that crowd's always crazy. And eventually, like South America, like when I went to compete in Brazil, the 1 year for sanctionals, it was crazy over there. So,
well, I don't want to sound like sour grapes. I just think that for the first time in a long time, a CrossFit competition was right sized. Like the venue was the right size for the competition. And I don't think we've done a very good job of that at all in this country.
And it's because I think we've also had the games. So people often are like, oh, let me skip the semifinal so that I can go to the games. And we've had those major competitions forever. So people always have something else that they can go to. The options have just been way bigger in North America. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I heard John Woolley say one time that CrossFit should look at high school football stadiums. That is the right size for a CrossFit competition. And I think that the CrossFit Games, had it not had the tragedy last year, the event in the football stadium was awesome and packed. Like, I think that makes sense. Like that, I think we're just, we're not right sizing the venue. And kudos to Rogue for doing that. Because I do think this was right sized and it had a cool effect because of it. And it was awesome to watch and awesome to look at.
Wasn't Rogue in Columbus, wasn't that like packed?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. But it was inside the factory. Like it was probably even smaller. It was probably half the size indoors as this venue. But they also had an outdoor venue that was packed as well.
Right.
So that was one of my favorite competitions to ever attend. Like there wasn't a bad seat in the house at either location either.
But yeah, no, I mean, I love the competition. I think there's a couple workouts I would have liked to have seen the time cap, 1 minute extra that second day. Obviously the duel was sad for, just heartbreaking for those athletes. Because those top three on the female side were putting on a show. Like there was such a big gap between those three and the rest of the field. I still think Laura would have pulled away from Gabby with those events that were left, but it was exciting to see those battles. I think this was the best competition I've seen Laura look. Like Tia doesn't lose very often, and to lose 4 events in a row to Laura, it was like, whoa. Like I didn't even care about the overall score, just like all the ones on for one, all the ones on the other one. It was like the last event. We knew like Tia was going to win the overall, but like it was just like, who's going to win 5? Who's going to win 5 and the other one's going to get 4? I thought Jeff looked phenomenal. As we didn't get to see him at the games. He looked great. Hopper had a great competition on the men's side. There was a few people fighting for that 3rd place. Brent obviously looked great. Happy for him to finish off his career that way. Happy for Arielle to get on that podium. There was a lot of great stories. Yeah, just mostly just that second day was a tough day. It rebounded back on the 3rd day, but like the 2 workouts with a lot of the time caps followed by the duel that had the 2 incidents. That one was a more difficult day to.
Do you have thoughts on rebounding and whether that should be allowed or not?
I mean, I come from so many sports background. I bound all the time in training. If you watch any of my training videos, like I'm constantly doing it. I like bounding. I think it's like Danielle is the most athletic one in that field. She would have been way ahead of everyone had she bounded or not bounded. She's always been good at burpee box jump overs and get overs and stuff like that. And then it just made it look even faster, obviously, when she was bounding. I don't think you needed to bound to win that event though. You like it definitely helped to get a little bit of a lead, but you didn't need to bound to get a really fast score. But
I heard an interesting take on around the whiteboard, and it was Sam Briggs' coach. Why is his name escaping me right now? He was saying that you need to test plyometrics as part of fitness.
It's like we won't do sprinting. We can't do sprints all of a sudden because people are going to rip their hammies. Well, that's, you know what? Speed is a part of fitness. You got to be fast. Like that should be tested.
There are athletes that are springier and bouncier than others, right? And like he goes, I don't think Guy would do what this would happen to Guy. He's just too springy and bendy. Like that's just who he is, right? But you look at Heinrich and he is a stiffer athlete. Like, and this was his opinion. This is not mine. He was saying that just looking at him, he is a stiffer athlete and you can kind of tell. So, but anyway, it was just a really interesting conversation.
I wonder if a lot of these athletes don't have sporting backgrounds anymore. Like a lot of them don't. They just specialize in CrossFit. And now that we haven't had bounding because it's all been stepped down, like I just wonder how much people are actually maintaining in their training at some point, some bounding. Like in my opinion, we should be able to do five reps. I know it's from a very high surface, but I think that people still need to I mean, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. People could have torn just sprinting forward towards the sled. You've seen people like last year, I think it was one of the Niners or one of the football players was just running from off the field to the field and it popped.
Yep.
Like it often happens in like a rebounding change of direction, which, they had there, but they got to support their arms a little bit like to their bound where it wasn't as much like you're not jumping 55 inches fully down, rebounding back. I don't know. It's hard to tell, like no bounding ever. Like there's so much bounding in CrossFit. Like where does it stop? Like, or just in athleticism in general, people will be like, oh, well, you don't need to test bounding to test fitness, but like, it's still part of a race. Like I don't know. Like if people have that in their repertoire, like why are you limiting them to being able to do that? Like I didn't bound when I tested it, but I was very fast going over and probably as competitive with any of those scores. Yeah. But like I'm fast on the overs. But like it didn't even occur to me to bound. I could have. I didn't even think about it just because I'm smaller, but I don't know. Like I train it all the time. I don't even think about it.
You're always going to have soft tissue injuries in sports. It's just going to happen. As much as you try to prevent it, it's always going to happen. And at some point, the athlete has to make the decision: does this work for me or not? And yeah,
but like it really started with Danielle Brandon that was bounding, right? Like she's someone who is an athlete on the field. Like she has done a lot of sports. She's one of the rare athletes that we have in CrossFit. She is. Like there's not many pure athletes in CrossFit. She's one of them. So when you take a movement that's already good for her and then she bounds and looks and makes everyone look like turtles out there, people are going to be like, frig, I got to do that too. But even if they did do that, they still weren't even close to Danielle Brandon. She was still so much faster because she's springy.
So the comment I can relate to,
and then she would lose it on the sled.
The comment I can relate to the most is when I played college basketball, I had a huge vertical, but in my old age, I'll be stepping down. That's Larry Young.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the masters need to, like, at past a certain point, but at the same time, don't tell me how to race. If you have it in you, like, I don't know. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen.
That is my opinion. That
like it sucks, and I don't know if there was a previous injury to Gabby's calf that people talked about. Like, I don't know whether that's true or not. Like, it's horrible what happened, and like, obviously with 2 happening, you're like, frig, like, was it badly programmed or just?
you
or
can
was it like just?
game and 2 people tear an Achilles. Like, it happens when it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just sad, but
and the other thing is, Carolyne, you know the risk reward, right? If you're going to bound and that pops, you know it's 18 months.
Probably less than that, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going by Chelsea Nicholas, who
Yeah.
just went through the recovery, and yeah, you can come back in a year, but it's not right for 18 months.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
But it could have happened even in the burpee overs. Even in the burpees, as they land and come back, like boom, it could have literally happened there with how fast they were going.
Right. You're coming down from a high weather. Yeah, I don't know.
But like again, like I train all the time, like my whole life, weighted depth drops where you just, you depth drop and then you explode from there, like from different heights. It's like I don't know what type of background training people have to really like solidify more, I guess, your Achilles. But but some of the best athletes can tear it too. Like if it's meant to go, sometimes it's meant to go.
So I want to address this from CrossFit. I think losing players to injuries for a long term is still bad. Like, we may not get that Gabby again. I don't think that is the case. With the way medical technology is today, recovering from an Achilles tendon should actually make you stronger afterwards, because over time your Achilles tendon stretches. This actually tightens it back up and makes it new. And once you're past 18 months, it is as secure as a brand new Achilles.
But even in the step down, like William Leahy, the step down, he would step down and just kind of, it's still a kind of bounding, and he tore it there. And people will say, oh, well, he was jumping from the rope. I mean, he didn't do it when he jumped from the rope. He did it with his little box movement, not from the rope. Like, stuff just happens. And he's a great athlete who has great explosive power, basketball player. It's like, it just.
So
where does it stop?
Last week, I'm going to say it again. If you go to 321md.com, that is Sean Rocket. He is the medical person for the CrossFit Games. He actually did an episode on how Achilles ruptures happen. And he actually was in the chat with some of the stuff that happened at Rogue and talked about it. A lot of it is to do with your foot angle when you land. But he actually walks through it step by step. And if you want to know more about this, it's a great resource to go check out for this, because he is an orthopedic surgeon and has probably repaired Achilles in the past. So with that. So there was that. And the other thing, my only other complaint with the duel, my bigger complaint with the duel was the wait time. And I love the format of the duel. I love that the head-to-heads, almost like 5 people heats. I think that's awesome. But it is the wait times for a 35-second event are just getting to be too big. It was better this year than last year. But I think that if you're going to continue to do these, we've got to find a way to shrink that down. And I know there's appeals and I know there's all that stuff. But I think that is the thing that needs fixed the most.
I thought they were faster this year between each, not between like the 20, 15, 10, but like going through the actual heats, if that makes sense, like of that round, that was much faster than, because in the past year it was not only slow at between the 2015, but it was also slow between those. So those were good. Yeah, still a little bit long between. I get they want recovery time, and they don't want to smash the athletes as well. That's one thing, is like they don't want the athletes that are moving on to be at such a disadvantage for the weekend to keep going. I think they could get rid of that round of 15. I think you can go from 20 to 10, at least 20 to 10. And then maybe if you want to go 5-2, at least get rid of at least one round.
Yeah.
I think it would be, I mean, it wouldn't be called the duel, but I still think the 20-10-5 would be just enough. Just long enough right there. Where you're not crushing them volume wise for making it further. It's still exciting. They get 3 times to come back through. I think that would be, in my opinion, the winning recipe. But that event was fun to do. That was my favorite one to test.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I would like that as well. Any other final thoughts from either of you from Rogue that you thought about in the past week? And again, like, I just want to make it clear, I'm not dogging on European crowds. I don't think we in the US have done a very good job, either marketing or right sizing events.
I mean, I just want to say thank you to Katie and Bill for continuing to put this on for the athletes. And I mean, even like they're always up for feedback as well. Like they're open to feedback on everything. The fact that they even changed the workout middle of the competition is great as well. You don't see that very often. But yeah, to provide the athletes with hotels and their flights covered, where athletes can just go out there and compete, and not just the CrossFitters, but the strongman. Having the strong woman there was a huge addition. I didn't know any of them really before. I think I knew one of the Canadian girls and obviously some of the men, but yeah, like it was different to follow them. I think a field of 10, you got to see a lot, like you got to like see those athletes and kind of get to know them throughout the competition, because it was a small field. So I thought that was cool that they got paid the exact same. And I think that's a great platform that Rogue provided them that weekend. So super happy for them, and happy that the athletes got to have a great competition.
Question from Justin Sun. Are you competing in 2025, Carolyne?
Like the game season, or just like in general? Yeah, I'm competing. Masters and Indy. I get 2 routes.
Lex says they take care of everything for the athletes, and you can tell,
and the legends too.
The athletes are very relaxed, seem to be having a good time. I think it was good for the sport to just have a clean slate.
They also had a great video tribute to Lazar before the competition started. I don't know if you guys saw it on the stream.
Yeah.
Or not. Yeah.
It was much better than the games. So,
I mean, that was much better than the games. And I thought that was a nice addition to start the weekend off, giving space for people to, rethink about what happened. And for Lazar.
And Justin came back in game season.
Whatever that looks like. We should know soon.
Will we?
Who knows?
The PFAA this week held board elections for their athlete board. The people that were up for either a yes or no vote were Christina Leviticus, Danielle Brandon, Jake Douglas, Yella Hosta, Patrick Vellner, and Victoria Campos. And I think they have until the end of this week, maybe, or sometime midway this week, to get your votes in. So, and they've been doing a pretty good job of putting out material of how their voting works. They put out an Instagram post. I'll share it real quick, just showing this is their how their board gets elected. There's eligible voting members. Eligible voting members are invited. Then those voting members accept the invitation, and then they elect the board of directors, which is the athlete board. And those are the candidates that I just listed off. The athlete board make the decisions to advance the PFA's mission and goals. And then the athlete board selects an executive committee to run the day-to-day operations. And that executive committee executes and facilitates communication to the voting members. So they're doing a lot of things like this to kind of explain their makeup, which I think is a good first step in helping us understand how they represent the athletes. I've said that for a couple weeks now. I don't like that they don't include teams, masters, and semifinal athletes who are also affected by all of this stuff. But I was told in the chat a couple weeks ago that those are in the future plans, but they wanted to start small, get their feet wet, and then expand. So hopefully that is true, and we will see that in the future. Lex says there should be at least one or two from Masters and team. I do not disagree with you. Because they're at the same competitions sometimes, and their safety concerns and competitive balance issues are the exact same as the elite athletes.
And I would argue that there's sometimes even more safety concerns at the Masters division than there would be at the elite individual, especially at like the games. Like some of the programming I've seen in the past for Masters division inside their gym, where they don't have access to certain mats when they're falling from the rope doing legless at certain age. I'm like, or certain movements, like it would be nice for them to be represented, and start thinking about additions for those divisions and maybe what the standards should be. And
what about synchro rope climbs or worm work, or that are all add dangers to things? Vi says, from someone who helped form a union at my job, it makes sense to start small and get on your feet before you include all groups and positions. That's what worked in my experience anyway. Again, at this point, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully we'll see expansion in the future. And she said we expanded to include more positions each year as we got more experience. So, okay, cool. Emma Lawson announced that she is back to training CrossFit. She did that on TikTok, and me as a 54-year-old man had to do some digging to find that, but I did. So I do have a TikTok account where I put stuff up, but here she is. I'm going to go ahead and play her announcement. She actually has like 3 or 4 more videos. It looks like she's kind of vlogging this every day on TikTok.
A big day. I'm going back to a CrossFit gym today. It's been about 3 months since I've done CrossFit. I just really needed to take a physical break, mostly a mental break from training that way. I'm feeling like I'm ready to really nervous. I feel like it was really necessary for me to take that time off. You probably saw because I was posting some. I did like a lot of Pilates. I was running a lot more. I was doing some biking and just kind of like whatever I felt like. I was doing some other types of workout classes. And I feel like that was just a really good reset for me. I'm excited to try and get back. Today I'm doing more of like skill work. Like I'm doing ring muscle ups, bar muscle ups, chest to chest, fingers crossed. It's been a hot minute, so we'll see how that goes. I think it's really necessary when you're getting to a point of it's not fun anymore, or you're just really struggling through it and you're not enjoying it anymore, and maybe you're noticing you're doing it for the wrong reasons. It's really important to recognize that, and it took me a long time to be able to actually recognize that, but recognizing it is the start, and then kind of doing something about that. So for me, that was taking a little bit of a step back so that I can try and find the joy for it again, because I really do love doing CrossFit. I love competing. I love pushing myself in that way, and just the variety of movements that we get to do.
So that is about half of it. She goes on, and there's even some parts after her workout where she missed some muscle ups. She says that it's a process, but as you can see, there's like 4 more videos. And these 3 are all about her training. So go check her out on TikTok. It looks like she's going to daily blog this thing, her comeback into it. And hopefully she does find the joy, because she is so uber talented.
Yeah, I mean, she started CrossFit, I think, when she was like 7 or something years old. And I think she's done CrossFit longer than I have, which is crazy. So I think it's good that she finally, recognized that she was probably burnt out, didn't love it as much anymore, and took this off season for herself. She did a Hyrox. She did, I think, a half marathon with Jack. Just exploring other things before getting back into more structured CrossFit. And hopefully, and hopefully she,
doing the Jamie training,
gets back to loving it. And if she doesn't, then she knows that there's other outlets out there and ways to stay fit. Like she's been doing the Pilates and stuff like that. And you don't have to do CrossFit to, to compete and stuff like that too.
Yeah. In the last few years, we've lost Mal, Emma, and Emma. Emma still has not missed a game season, so I shouldn't even put her in there. But Emma Carey, Mal O'Brien, and Haley for a minute, but she's back. So hopefully, they can find the joy again. It looks like Emma Carey is as well. We haven't heard from her, but yeah, I think this is. I think kids should be doing this stuff anyway. And I think she may have missed out on it by starting CrossFit so young and becoming so good so fast. So another thing that happened this weekend is the Belgrade Games. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up their Instagram as they announced the top 3 in their divisions. And this was Luka Jukic's first time back in competition since the games. So on the men's side, the winner was Moritz Fiebig, Bronislaw Olinkowicz was second, and Luka ended up coming in third. So congratulations to those men. I tuned in to Be Friendly's live stream a little bit on IG. Man, they've got the high def down. It was really clear this weekend. It's still tough trying to figure out who's who with like a single cam kind of thing, but I applaud them for doing this and letting us have the opportunity to watch more CrossFit. It's at some points they had like 800 people live on their stream.
He did a great job, and they would put
good.
they would put the workouts at the bottom for people to see, which is really important. They even had some scores go up at some point in the one workout today. That was like max reps in the remaining time and stuff. So I thought they did a great job, and shows that, you can do things at at smaller scale competitions and still get people involved into watching and being
The
fans.
reality is CrossFit is still a grassroots thing, right? And the stream can be grassroots. We got spoiled with high-end production of some of the big events because the owner of CrossFit wanted to do that back in the day. We need to do more of this, and Brian's doing a great job.
Did you watch the finale and the
Jackie Pro?
Yeah, and their Lazar tribute, and even for the podium?
I watched a little bit of the females. I did not watch because it was right during the Bears game.
Yeah, Luca was emotional on the rower before starting. They had an announcement for Lazar. They put the chess piece up in lane 5. Gave him a big shout out there, and then they were beginning the workout, and then during the closing ceremony, they had Lazar at the forefront of this competition the entire weekend. It was a competition too.
And the last event was
remember
called
him.
the Lazar workout.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and on the women's side, we had Mathilde Garnes won that. Alisa Fuliano took second, and Jacqueline Dahlstrom took third. All names we know from the CrossFit space as well, both sides. So yeah, great that they all did well. And the first place winner got 7,000 euros. I don't know what that means, but kudos to them.
There's a lot of good people that come.
Luca was wearing Lazar's jersey from Dubai for Jackie Pro. Yeah, I probably would have been bawling in my desk chair watching that. But kudos to them. It looked like a great competition. The floor was awesome. And again, kudos to Be Friendly, and their coverage it was awesome. So there's that. And then Hyrox. So there's all these people doing Hyrox. And Carolyne, you did one a few weeks ago. Lucy McGonigal and her sister did it. Jay Crouch and Maddie Sturt did one. Tia did one with James Newberry. Paige Powers is doing one, and while she's pregnant. Do you think the Hyrox is just like a change of pace for these athletes, or do you think they're dabbling?
I just think it's a less pressured, fun competition. Like a lot of these high level athletes, like you can't go to local comps and just compete a lot of times because you look like an asshole just going to beat up on all the locals, so I feel like this is a chance to just do something different with less pressure, and it's just fun. It's a good workout. I don't think most of these athletes that are dabbling there are thinking that they're going to be world champion in it. It's like it's such a running specialization sport, while also needing to be fit on the stations. But I just think we have the background that it suits well, and it's just part of our training. And I just think people are just dabbling for fun, and it's like I just did it for fun with my friend. Was not thinking we were going for any type of record.
Jamie, you've actually considered it, right? Because there's been times where CrossFit's getting so heavy that you feel like they're trying to push your type of athlete to the side. And you've confided in me that Hyrox actually looked like an alternative to that. Have you done one yet?
I have not done one. I wanted to do Chicago this weekend. It fills up and I don't sign up soon enough. So I don't know. I don't even know when the next one that's close enough for me to do would be.
I'm laughing at this comment that Lex wrote because I love Barbell Spin. He's always posting stuff, but like I remember like he posted my score with my friend who doesn't even train at all, and I was like, man, people don't need to know that I'm doing this competition. Like this is not even an important competition. And I mean he's looking up every single person that's doing it. It's like okay, like people are just doing it for fun too.
Beck says, I don't know, Lex. I bought a spectator ticket for Tia's upcoming Hyrox event after he posted about it. So he sold a ticket. At least one. Justin Way says Vegas in February. Road trip.
Yeah, that's not a road trip for me. But Vegas usually isn't super expensive flight wise.
I know. Yeah. That's that's actually what I was thinking is cheap flights to Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get some really cheap ones here in Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Going to finish up with, and really the story is kind of hidden here, but Arielle Em ended up killing Taylor yesterday morning and winning $1,500 in a workout that was 15 toes to bar and 9 snatches. I actually thought about Jamie when this first popped up.
I was so mad that we were leaving for the casino.
What was how many rounds is that?
It was 6-minute AMRAP.
I would like that.
So
what was the weight?
80.
I'd like that.
So Taylor got 6 plus 1. Arielle got 6 plus 6.
Like an imam.
Yeah. So, and Arielle, like she didn't break until round 5, I think, on the toe-to bar, and her transitions were spectacular from the toe-to bar to the snatch. But there was a woman that called in from England, M. Degooch, who I actually met at the Masters CrossFit Games.
Yep.
And she set such a blistering pace, but her clock shut off at the 2:30 mark. And she got confused. And because she got confused, then the guy started yelling things at her and made her even more confused.
Yeah.
She would have beat both of them by a mile.
So she does always the online competition that I was doing, the fitness comps. And well, I mean, they went bankrupt and they haven't paid us for the last comp. That's another thingy. And they never emailed us. But MD Gooch always does those. She has great toes to bars. That's one thing I remember from her. I don't know about the barbell cycling, but her toes to bars are great. There was this one workout, she smashed everyone on the toes to bars, and it was like a toes to bar and rowing workout, but she was doing 50 something unbroken toes to bars.
So her toes to bar looked awesome, but she is the only one that didn't go singles on the snatch. Arielle went singles
from the start.
From the start, just super fast, like follow the bar down, right back up. But M. Degooch went unbroken the first 3 or 4 rounds.
How far behind was she?
She was not behind. She was
way ahead. And Taylor's over here like she didn't even do 15 toe to bar and like having her do extra because he isn't paying attention. Oh yeah.
At the end of they made her do extra reps in the middle, and then went back and watched the recording and found out they had screwed her over. But she only missed out by like 2 reps at the end, and they made her do like a bunch of extra in the middle.
And this one was for 1,500.
What was that? This was 1,500.
She would have had it.
Yeah, she would have had it.
She's 40 years old.
Yeah, she's a master.
She's very similar to me in like gymnastic stuff.
She would have been Arielle too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, I remember being very impressed by her toes to bars the one time. I was like, damn. I was like, I got beat by this, like, I didn't really know her. I was like, this master, it's like in the, like, I think she was in the 35 to 39 this year, but she was like at the end of that one. Like she was like 38, 39. I was like, damn, I got smoked in this workout.
But my question to you,
but I don't feel as bad now. If she was about to smoke Arielle, we're good. We're good.
to be on what I want to kind of talk about is having a 40-year-old Masters athlete come in and do that on a public facing show with 1,000 people watching. How do the Masters athletes capitalize on that? Because everybody's like, Masters athletes are like second fiddle, like AA or whatever. And sometimes they're not. At the end of the documentary, and this is a spoiler for tomorrow, so if you don't want to know, close yours. Mark Hutchinson looks in the camera and goes, let me ask you this question. If you went head to head, who is fitter, the games fittest on earth or the Masters 35 to 39 fittest on earth? He said, I think it's a pretty damn close call. And it's only because it's Will Morad. And Will has competed at that level. And Will was on fire that weekend at Masters.
And Will's beaten James probably many times in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this year, but not normally in other years. Like, I don't think who won it last year.
Sam Dancer.
I don't think he would be on the top. He's a great athlete. I don't think he would be in the top 10 at the games.
Right.
Yeah. Sam can't ever make it through the games for us to know.
Yeah, healthy.
That's the problem. Sam is a super fit dude and super strong dude, but he can't ever make it through a 4-day competition for us to know how fit he actually is. But it was just an interesting question, especially this year, right? You have a new guy, James, who people don't think truly is the fittest on earth. You have Will, who was like on fire at the Masters games. It was just an interesting thought. And Will put up times that would be competitive with the elite athletes of the world.
Well, Will should be at the individual games typically. Like, he got injured this year and wasn't able to finish out his season really like the way he wanted.
Yeah. But with the way Em de Gooch competed,
that would have been cool if she beat
like it just
both of them and whoop them.
Well, the thing is, I don't know that she was on way before Arielle. So like if she would have won and defeated Taylor, I don't know that they would have continued and had more people try.
They always have in the past.
Yeah,
if another person can beat the time even more, then they get to win it.
And maybe at that point, Arielle would have gone a little faster because she would have known a different number to beat. So we don't know.
Yeah. But when you watch Em, before she gets confused, like it was flawless.
Mm-hmm.
And to only be a couple reps behind with those mishaps, it's pretty good.
So I don't know. It was just a fun conversation I thought to have because of how well she did. And kudos, like applause to Em de Gooch to do what she did. Kudos to Arielle too for beating Taylor. $1,500 paycheck's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was
and she just had a good one from Rogue too.
Yeah. I looked up those payouts. That's not too shabby. And to have your trip paid for.
Yeah.
And the payout for third place.
I don't remember if Rogue gives money for event wins too, or like top threes. I don't remember. Or just event wins.
Clooney's, we care about Masters athletes. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. That's all we have for tonight. I do want to set up something for next week, but first make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notifier so you know when stuff comes out. Don't forget All Access comes out tomorrow at noon, and it will be 55 minutes long. It's an awesome episode. I can't wait for you guys to see that. But next week, we're going to play a game called Hall of Famer or Not. And it's set up as, to get in the Hall of Fame, you have to be special, right? It's not just that you're really good at something. You have to be the best of the best of the best, right? It's only like the top 1 or 2% in a league make it to the Hall of Fame. So what I'm going to do next week is I'm going to put people's picture on a document and I'm going to scroll up through it and you guys are going to see them. And I want you to tell me yes or no Hall of Famer. And next week will be men and the following week will be women.
Okay.
Retired athletes.
The sport's so young, it'll probably be a mix. Yeah. But as they sit today, like for an example, Tia is still competing, but that is a no-brainer that she is going to be a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Right.
Are you looking for a certain amount? Like, is it we have to name 3? Do we have to name 5? Or we just name who is?
in my head right now, it's just who is, but I actually was thinking about, should I put a limit on you guys so that you don't allow too many people in the door?
Right.
Yeah. I think we need a limit.
I think we need a limit too.
So yeah, I think that'll be a fun game we play next week. And Kenneth is saying first ballot. I think in your arguments, you can say, I think they are a first ballot, or, hey, they should probably let some other people in first and they'd be a second or third ballot in your argument. But for this sake, it's going to be, they're all up for the Hall of Fame. They're all on their first ballot. Should they be in or not? And it'll be men next week, and then we'll do women the following week. And as Lynn said, so we're going to get to argue. That's the point. And if there's anybody that you think should be under consideration in the men's field, please put that in the comments, and I will consider that to put together the eligibility list. And then I will, John, we're talking about a limit. We'll come up with a limit.
I think 5, no more than 5. I say 3 or 5.
Well, it depends on how many choices you have.
5.
Because I know, like, usually in a Hall of Fame, it's 5 per year, but the initial class gets more because you're
5.
making up for some time.
5.
This is my game. My game. We'll see. I'll come up with something good. Kenneth asked, should there be a limit to Canadian athletes? Lynn says, nope, no limit on Canada. John, this is my game. You guys have your own show.
How did Grid go? Was that this weekend that John competed?
It was today, right?
There was a finale or something, right? I saw Barbara.
John, how'd you do?
Or Heat one.
Yeah, I did see he went and put out like you could have
the
voted.
Championships were today.
Okay.
But those teams are already made. I don't think John's on the teams from right now. I think
on.
that's for
Okay.
the next season. Yeah. There you
okay.
go.
Okay. All right.
They're not just bringing in a ringer for the finale. What is this?
I don't know.
So, John, make sure you have Saxon Panchek on your Hall of Fame list. That's all I'm saying. They covered the championship on a spin cast.
All right. I'll go watch.
Yeah, that's usually when I'm getting ready for bed. I put them on. So that's what I'll do tonight. So with that, get ready for your debates on who should be in the Hall of Fame on the men's side of CrossFit next week. With that, we'll talk about it through the week.
Okay.
Just so you know, there'll be a heated debate throughout the week as to what the limit should be. With that, everybody, thank you so much for jumping on. It's going to be a blast next week. It's been a blast tonight. And don't forget, All Access tomorrow, final episode, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. It's a 55-minute long episode. So check that out. With that, everybody, peace out. It's been fun on Sunday night CrossFit Talk. Bye.